Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday Build Show. I am your host, Ben Estrino, and again, we are here today to build, yet again, the poor PC that got gypped yesterday. Time to start new PCs. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Aiden, how's it going? Just saw you. Just not too long ago. This PC we were actually supposed to build yesterday, and I had to cut the stream short. And here we are playing catch up again. It's the story of my life. So Cliff, I don't know if you got the notifications yet or not, or if you're on, but we are going to get started. I'm going to shoot you a message just to make sure you had fair notification, since we gypped you yesterday. So we did have a couple of issues yesterday. One, we had a bad graphics card. Yay! Third one of the month. Third card that was bad, brand new out of the box. So those are starting to rack up. Empower Gaming tech tips. What tech tips do you want to know? More? I need to make more videos. I actually have a few pro tech tip videos that have been recorded. I just haven't finished the editing and published them yet, so that starts to become the bottleneck for the videos. As a combination of Linus tech tips and Empower Gaming computers. Oh no, I actually have a series called the Empower Gaming Pro Tech Tips. So it covers kind of tips around building PCs, specific scenarios and things. I just don't have a ton of videos in that series yet, since I've been just building PCs. But we will have more that will grow. Oh, you didn't know? Now you know. It's over on the YouTube channel. If you go into the main YouTube channel, I think there's a section for it. Hey, some giant idiot, welcome. Over on the Twitch. So we got peeps in the YouTube channel and the Twitch. So today we're going to be building Cliff's PC. This is the PC that we're supposed to build. You're on your YouTube stream. Yes, yeah, I can see where the chats are coming from. Thankfully. This tool that I'm using is called Restream, and Restream actually makes it so I can see where everybody's chat is coming from, since we're streaming to multiple platforms, or it would be just one big nightmare of random chats from different areas. And I try to repeat all the comments that come in, because we're streaming to multiple platforms, so it carries the conversation to the other platform, or helps carry it. So anyway, today, Cliff, we're going to be starting your build. Case color is going to be white, so this is a white themed build, just to give you an idea of what we're kind of the theme that we're working with. So off the bat, we have, let me give you a top-down view so we can show you the parts as well. How about that? Hopefully my camera didn't reposition itself. It likes to have a mind of its own and go look up at the ceiling sometimes. I don't know why it does it. AMD Ryzen 3 4100, which has got the 4 cores, 8 threads. This has got a 4 gigahertz max boost on the CPU. We've actually built with this a couple times this week. You've seen pretty much close to the same build already this week. The Gigabyte B450M, which is the M stands for Micro ATX. This is the DS3H by Gigabyte, which has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into it. So that gives us the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth features that we want, or kind of expect out of PCs today in 2023. So mostly I don't really build any PCs anymore without Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It's just an expectation out of PCs now. 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 megahertz CL16. It's a each stick is 8 gigs, so it's a dual channel kit. Total of 16 gigabytes, and it's Silicon Power Zenith series. So this has got the addressable RGB on the RAM itself, which is cool. And then next up we have a 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe PCIe Gen 3 or PCIe 3.0. Great solid state drive. It's super quick for loading your games. It's gonna, you know, as you load up your games or install games, it's gonna be quick for the installation, but even quicker for the quicker for like loading up your games. You're not gonna be sitting there waiting, staring at a little spinning wheel. Everything's gonna be super quick. I would change the motherboard for a B550M Mortar Wi-Fi. Yes, so normally I would try to go B550, but there is a cost difference between the B550 and say this motherboard, the B450M. This one's $79 versus a B550, which are still in the $129 to $140 range. So it is an extra about almost $40 to $50 in cost, which, you know, this CPU doesn't even support PCIe 4.0. So we're just going to start with a B450. This is going to be a great motherboard. You can actually upgrade to the 5000 series if you wanted to. The downside is, yes, the 450 does not support PCIe 4.0, and neither does the CPU. So future upgrades, that is the limitation, but that is the cost of doing a PC within the price range that we're doing. You have the same motherboard. Don't forget generation compatibilities. Yeah, well, the B450 is still compatible with all the way up to the 5000 series. This, you could plug in a 5000, you could plug in a 5900X or 5950 in this, and it will still work. It'll run it. I have the same motherboard. Yeah, this is a great motherboard. So there's definitely nothing wrong with running a B450. It's just, like I mentioned, I think the biggest limitation is Wi-Fi is a little bit slower on this board versus like a B550. and then the PCIe 4.0 is lacking on this board. But outside of that, it's a great board, and really, PCIe 4.0 for this gaming PC, not going to make a big difference. Real G's go A boards. Yeah. Wait, what? Go A? Like AMD boards? So outside of the motherboard and the storage that we just talked about, we have an RX 580. And then we also have a Montech Air 100 in white, which is a popular case that I build with. The A520. Again, A520 is basically a B450, except usually the 520 has only 2 RAM slots, and unless it's the Asus Tough Gaming, that one is probably the only one out of the A520s that I do like. A520 also does not support PCIe 4.0, so it is PCIe 3.0 only. So that's the downside to a 520, is that you're entering the 500 series on the motherboard, but you're lacking PCIe 4.0. So you're better off just going with a B450 at that point, and you have more features on the board. That's the swap of a 520, unless it's the Asus Tough Gaming A520, which I actually like as a replacement for the B450. Then we have a 500 watt 80 plus bronze power supply. This is by RS Game. It's one that I've used quite a bit. We also have the 120 millimeter 4 heat pipe tower air cooler by Thermalright, which is the Assassin X120 SE, and it's in white. We also have some white sleeved cables because we wanted to really add to that white theme for this build. I thought we went through all of this. The idea of price, parts would be 90% GPU, 10% the rest. Pretty much, yeah. That most gaming PCs, especially budget PCs, that's kind of where it lands. But I do try really hard to make it easy to upgrade in the future as well. So keeping in mind the motherboard, the power supply, for example. But when we get into budget builds that are like south of $700, especially today, as prices on parts are going up steadily. Again, you know, we probably hit an all-time low on parts back in September / October. Then November came around and parts started just going up in price. For example, your SSD, your 1 terabyte SSD, you could get that for almost $32 back in October. Now the SSD is almost $50, or it is over $50. That's like $54 for that SSD now. So it's almost double in cost. Same thing with RAM. RAM is going up in price as well. Motherboards are going up in price. Power supplies are going up in price. CPUs are pretty much staying the same, especially the budget CPUs. Coolers are staying the same. Cases are pretty much staying the same. But everything's going up. Most of everything's going up in price, which sucks, especially for budget type builds that we try to do. Makes it more difficult. But once you get into these builds, it's really hard to say let's put in a 750 watt power supply versus a 500 watt. That's a large percentage of your budget to add that 750. Or let's go with a B550 versus the B450. That's a significant budget, percentage of your budget that comes out of it. So you really have to balance everything. It's like a big balancing act when you put one of these together. And you still have to make money also. The margins on these things are so small. I think this build I made a total of like $40 or maybe $50 on it. So there's not a whole lot of money in a budget build like this. And that goes for like any budget build I'm doing. Even the other two that I did yesterday, it's the same story. I try to balance it, but you're limited to that budget. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with putting this together. Maybe we could see if we break the PR. The personal record. I don't think we're going to break a PR, especially with sleeved cables. These things add like 10 minutes to a build, so I don't think we're going to be breaking a personal record today. On this build, anyway. So let's get started. We're at 15 minutes We'll start at 16 minutes just to be even. Does anybody have any questions on it? On this build in particular? Or any thoughts? Any additional thoughts? And some giant idiot, I actually did start out with like A320, I think, at some point with the Ryzen series. So I think it was the A320. That was like the top budget board back when AMD started. All right, we're at 16, just past 16 minutes, and we're going to get started. We're going to get the CPU installed, we're going to get the RAM and the SSD installed, as well as the CPU cooler. Then we'll get that installed into the case and move on to power supply and the cables around that. What's the over-under on zip tie usage? I don't know what that is right now. I think we definitely use about 6 zip ties per build. Roughly, I think that's the average right now. That's about the average zip tie usage. I've got a funky pin here. This thing did not want to drop in place. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Maybe it won't. See that one pin? See how it's a little shiny on the left side? I've got one pin out of place. One of the 500,000 pins on this thing. And no, I did not do that. Actually 2 pins. We got it. User error. It's not a user error. I literally pulled it out of the package, palmed it, lifted it up, and put it in. It was packaged like that. You'd be surprised how many... I've actually found a few of those. Brand new out of the box. A pin is slightly bent, and it doesn't want to go into the socket. But it's all good. Bent pins are okay, as long as they don't break. So we got it bent. I just took a little screwdriver and slightly pushed it back over, and or pushed it over, and it slotted just fine. You want to yell at anybody, you should be yelling at AMD. You want to guess how many CPUs I actually had dead DOA out of the box, brand new? Guess how many I've had so far? Probably in the last... we'll keep it within the last 3 years. How many dead CPUs did I have? Brand new out of the box, which, by the way, is equivalent to winning the lottery. Four of them, all AMD 3000 series. Well, the number is close, but the majority of that number is actually Intel. So I've had a total of 5 in the past 3 years, and only one of those was AMD. The rest were Intel. Out of the box, dead. We actually don't need this. Brand new. And you want to know how much of a big pain in the butt it is to prove to Intel that it's a bad CPU? I literally have to make a video of me recording the serial number on the CPU, taking it out, or I'm sorry, recording the serial number on the CPU, showing them it doesn't post, and then me swapping it out with a working functional CPU and showing them that it posts, because they don't believe you. So it's a pain. Which chips was it? The majority was the 11th and 10th gen, but I've also had recently, actually, I had an Intel i9 13900K. That was bad. That was very recent. You know, that's like a $500 CPU. And Intel wanted me to send it back and have the time for them to prove that it was bad, and I'm like, bruh, I don't have time for that. I ended up just going back through the reseller that I purchased those through, and they ended up just swapping it for me. But Intel CPUs have been the majority of bad CPUs out of the box. The majority of that was 10th and 11th generation, and then the one AMD CPU that was bad out of the box, brand new, that was a 5900X. And there's no physical damage on any of these CPUs. They just would not post, period. When you look at it under a microscope, there's no physical damage or anything on them. It's as simple as would not post. What board did I have the 3900K in? I think it was a Asus ROG Strix Z790. If I remember correctly. It was a fancy board. Fancy build. You had to flash your Z690. No, it wasn't a 600 series. It was a 700 series, fully compatible with that board. And as soon as I got the new CPU, without flashing the BIOS or anything, I plugged the new CPU in, fires and posts perfectly fine. So it definitely was not the motherboard or the RAM. I think I tested it even with a i5 13600K, just to make sure it wasn't the board or anything before I went through all that. That I had here. Alright, so since we're building with a white PC, I'm going to try to fit some white zip ties in on the front side. Yes, I color code the zip ties too. Try to. We've got our RAM, our SSD, our CPU cooler all plugged into the motherboard. We're ready to get the case out. What do you think is better overall, liquid cooler or air? I think liquid is more consistent, and air, depending on the ambient temperature, can be sometimes even better than liquid. But if it's a hotter environment, I would suggest just running liquid. It'll help. Liquid cooled is just air with extra steps. It is technically air cooled because it's blowing air through the radiator, but I think the benefit with liquid cooled is overall you can control where you are dissipating that heat, whereas with an air cooler it's pretty much just dumping it in the case unless it's like jam-packed to the rear fan. But with liquid, for example, I can exhaust everything out of the top of the case, all the heat from the CPU, so it's a little bit more controlled. That's how I view it. I knew that was coming. Pretty sure only 9-tiered CPUs are worth liquid cooling. I don't know. I like liquid cooling. My rule is usually the i5 600K, so like a 13600K or higher, or an i7, i9. Those I'll liquid cool or try to. Unless it's, you know, preference for air-cooled versus liquid-cooled. I've air-cooled i9s before, and as long as you have a big enough cooler, for example, the Assassin, the Peerless Assassin from Thermalright can handle an i9. It can. But for the most part, i5 2600K or i5 13600K, for example, and up is what I'll liquid cool. And then or 14600K now. Ryzen 5, I would say 5600X 3D and up, I will liquid cool. 7600, I'd probably keep that on an air cooler. But the 7700X, I think I would liquid cool that one. Just to give you an idea. So in other words, you can definitely liquid cool any CPU, or you can definitely air cool any CPU. Really just depends on the use case scenario. What is it going to be used for? If you're running the CPU hard constantly, I think the liquid cooler is a little bit more consistent with keeping things cool. So that's usually when I recommend for sure going liquid cooled. A lot of times people don't really think about this, but when you're working with smaller CPUs, they're going to be worked harder because they're smaller. They don't have the same performance as some of the bigger ones, so they're going to be used, higher usage, higher percent of the time. So making sure you have a good enough cooler to support that instead of using a cheap like Stealth Wraith, which comes with the PC with the CPU. That's the main reason why I don't use them. Is because we know that the CPU usage is going to be higher on these smaller CPUs and it's going to make it warm. So the cooler you can keep the CPU, the better it's going to come. So that's why I use, for example, these Thermalright Assassin X120s on these CPUs. If not, it's going to sound like a jet engine as well. It's just going to be constantly running, at 1500 RPM on the fan. You haven't gotten any complaints yet for cooling the 5800 X3Ds and i7s for Peerless Assassins or Shrug's NH D15S? Yeah, like I said, I've done i9s with the Peerless Assassin. And there's no problem with that. They work just fine. They'll keep up with it. It usually comes down to A, do you have AC in your room? Or B, if the room is not going to be temperature controlled and it gets warm during the summers, I usually try to go liquid cooled because it helps it there in that type of scenario. Sometimes people put PCs in their garages for golf simulators, so it's different scenarios based off of what they're using it for. That's what I work with. Or is it a performance build and we want to make sure we dissipate the heat out of the case from the CPU, which helps keep things cool ultimately inside the PC. So more controlled on where the heat's going. That's a bonus. That's because I'm special. Yeah, I always told people to not get the i9s or AMD for daily uses. Yeah, well, I mean, unless you need the horsepower. What if you need the horsepower? I mean, that might be important if you need the horsepower, like for streaming or video editing. Going bigger on the CPUs. But for daily usages, yeah, like if you're just web browsing, you don't need anything fancy for that. Or if you're just straight up gaming, just gaming, Ryzen 5 or an Intel i5, it's just fine. Or even smaller, something on your budget. Like I preach all the time, you don't need the best of the best to enjoy gaming on a... You can do a lot on something as simple as this. Here. So I'm just getting the front panel connections plugged in here. As well as the addressable RGB hub back case here, and getting the fans plugged in, which I'm gonna throw a zip tie on these or two. The last one was for 3D rendering, but I doubt most gamers are doing that sort of thing. Yeah, there's not very many gamers that are rendering. A 3D rendering in multi render graphic. Comes down. Got all our front panel stuff plugged in, which is good. Guess we can move on to the video card and the power supply. Even the YouTubers I subbed to uses entry to mid-tier stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything. I have an RTX 3070 Ti and a Ryzen 7 57 or 5800X and 32 gigs of RAM. I'm happy with it. Don't need the best. I mean, I'm not gaming on my PC anymore, really that much, but I enjoy gaming when I do get a chance to. I don't know, that's probably like a $1,300 build price range nowadays. I almost upgraded to an i9, but I ended up putting the parts that I bought for my build into a customer piece that needed it ASAP. So I just gave up. Let's actually do the sleeve cables really quick. Get that done and over with, and got some cable combs for these. Hey, Link Hunter, I'm considering the Steam Deck. See, there you go. Steam Deck's cool. Heard a lot of good reviews on it. I really like the Garbo tier everything plus a 4090. Yes. I mean, they're all nice to have. If you had a 4090, you would use it. If I had a 4090, I would definitely use it. Would I be flexing on it? No, probably not. I do a lot of high-end builds like that. In fact, we have a decently high-end build coming up here. A couple of them, actually. That we're going to be doing early next week. Or next week at some point. I think we're waiting on graphics cards to arrive. But we're going to be doing a couple of higher-end builds, and the... I guess my point is it's all based off of what you're using it for. One of the guys for one of these high-end builds that we're going to be doing, all he does is play WoW. But he wanted the best. If you can buy the best and you have the money to do it, enjoy it, and it makes you feel good with the limited time you have left in life, I guess go for it. Do it. Makes you happy. It's overkill. Probably 100%. It makes him happy. Looking forward to that build. Actually, he's purchased a few builds for me. Actually, had me build a couple of them. His entire family, I think, has a PC from me now. You have the same Steam Deck and you're running Diablo 4 on it. Oh, nice. And it ran smooth? Sweet. It's good to hear. I mean, I've only heard really good things about the Steam Deck. Now that OLED came out, a lot of used LED popping up, yeah. Yeah, everybody's cycling their monitors out. Is he playing WoW on 8K? I have no idea what his displays are outside of, I think they're just 1440p and 165. I don't know the actual model on the display. But I got the stats when we were asking, I think so. I think they're 1440p. He was playing on this super old Alienware. Hey Aiden, what's up? How's it going, man? Did you get home? Did you get it plugged in yet? Aiden was actually just here. He's over on YouTube. He was just here picking up his PC. That was one we did, I think, a couple days ago now. Or Thursday is when we built, I think, Aiden's. I bought the 512. It has an expansion port, so I'm going to go pick up a 1 terabyte. Nice. There you go. Yeah, I was curious, like, how that all works. I haven't gotten to, like, learn everything about a Steam Deck. Because I saw that they were offering, like, a 512. I was wondering if that's something you can add more to. Or add on to. Getting close? Not yet? Okay. Well, we're almost there. Right? Crap. I just put these on the wrong way. These cable combs. Oops! Let's flip them around, shall we? Does anybody else use the sleeved cable extensions like this? Like the budget man's cable mod. But it's a inexpensive way to add some flair to your PC. Hey Chaotic Mutt, what's up? How's it going, sir? Fell out, got a 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. shift tonight. Oh crap. That's crazy. Never used cable extensions. It's an inexpensive way to add some flair to your build. I think these were like $19. Cable combs aren't the greatest in this kit, but it's only for the builder at that point that it sucks for. The aesthetics are still just fine. It's just they don't like to snap very easily. For the builder, person building it. The experience with them kind of is like, meh. But once they're in place, they're fine. Cliff, yes. Where'd you fall out of? I know you said you're doing something with the shelves or putting some shelves up. Power supply time, and then we do some cable management, and then we fire this bad boy up. This one went pretty quick. We're at 52 minutes. We've definitely expired our record time. But I had mentioned these cable extensions were going to do that. In some situations, when you're doing massive builds, cable extensions can be nice because you can plug the cable in, but it's also, you know, kind of the same idea as a modular power supply. But you can plug the cable into the case and then get the power supply cable at the backside. Sometimes that's nice feature, especially with the modular power supplies. Same idea there. Now what I'll do is try to get this symmetrical as possible, because I don't want it looking like an angle on the other side of the case. And we'll get some zip ties on here. Nah, shelves got done and the Lions put me to sleep. Oh, they play bad. I haven't watched them in the last couple weeks, honestly. I don't even know what their record is right now, if they won or lost the last couple weeks. Normally I do, because my grandpa's really into the Lions. I used to be. I kind of gave up on the Lions years ago. Football in general. I used to love football. Same thing with baseball. Tigers kind of ruined it for me. After we were getting so close to a World Series, made it to the World Series, and then we just fell apart after that. What is with these zip ties? Had 2 in a row break. Was bad against the Bears. I think they were on a comeback. Now I don't know. I turned it off. Yeah, I know that there's hype around them. People even talking about them winning their champion Super Bowl. I don't know if any of that's actually true. They had a pretty good record, I think, early on, but haven't been paying attention. For anybody who's in Detroit or near Detroit, so it's the Detroit Lions that we're talking about from the NFL. By the way, has a saying here called "Same Old Lions," because they sucked for so many years. Even with some of the greatest players in the game, they still managed to. Which is mind-boggling to me. That's where the saying "Same Old Lions" came up. I'd be curious to see if they're still the same old Lions. I know that they did some really good work with the run game. That's what I think improved the most this year versus last couple of years. It really improved is our run game. It opens up down the field for us on our offense. But I think where we're short is our quarterback. What's his name? Throws too many interceptions, turns the ball over too many times. That's not going to help the offense, obviously, and it's going to exhaust and deplete our defense game. That was my last. I think that was Thanksgiving's game. Too many turnovers by our quarterback. This build is for Grayson Youngerson. Grayson Youngerson swears he wants a gaming PC. Well, let's see how you do with this one before big money is spent. No worries. The other son, Damon, has held strong since 2020 on his build. Definitely time and well-earned upgrade. Yes. Well, I mean, all I could do is try my best. great entry-level build for the price. That's all I can say. It is definitely entry-level, though. But it will play pretty much anything you want to play on it. And it should last a while, meaning it shouldn't be running into problems. Pretty good parts. How's that cable management for you? Normally I would run this down here, but I wanted to keep it symmetrical. This portion up here symmetrical, so I had to draw it to the back here, then bend it. That way this piece here stays symmetrical, or as symmetrical as possible with the rest of the build and its cables. But I mean, it's pretty clean. See that USB 3 is rubbing up on the fan there. But I mean, it's pretty clean. Lean. How we like it. What do you think, Cliff? Is that clean for you? I can send pics of the other one if you want to see it. Not so nice. Sure, if you want to send it over. I know you said you wanted to do like a case swap and some other stuff. I don't count anything on the Lions till 1 minute after. That's hard to bet, though. You can't really bet on the Lions if you're doing that. Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the Lions right now is the quarterback and the defense. The defense gets worn out too quickly, but it's also because of the turnovers from the quarterback. So, you're going to win a championship, a Super Bowl, can't turn the ball over. Too many interceptions. At least that's what I've seen out of him. All right. We've got PC ready to be plugged in and fired up to see what it looks like for the very first time. Just gonna put away all the extra hardware out of the build into a bag here for you. All that extra hardware gets sent with the PC. Agreed. Not a Goff fan. Yeah, I don't think there are very many Goff fans here. We got the short end of that stick. Stafford was probably going to be one of the better quarterbacks that played for Detroit. And I actually really miss him. Stafford! I used to be a Lions fan. Now I just don't watch football. I don't follow it religiously anyway, like I used to. All right. So, you guys ready to see this thing? Get it fired up. First time, first post. keyboard. Where'd it go? Not. I'm assuming it'll be prettier light up than the Christmas tree. Oh, maybe. Not? Like, are you saying your Christmas tree is better than this? I don't know. This thing's gonna look pretty badass. You ready? I don't know why the camera's like tilted. There we go. Definitely better than the tree. Oh, yeah. I mean, trees have gotten easier and easier every year, right? You just plug it into the wall. They're even pre-lit, or the lights are pre-applied to the trees now. The artificial ones, that is. So, all right, let's do it. You want me to push this button? Push it. Push it real. Okay. I'll shut up. It's gonna be purple? Well, we might be able to make that happen. There's kind of like a purple. The RAM's not set though, because we have to do that in the software. All good. So what do you think? Is that white enough? Because I know you wanted white. Off a little bit, but I think it's just the camera. I'm trying to look at it in real life and it looks fine. That white is crispy. It is. It helps with the RGB too, because it really kind of blows up with the lights inside of it. Takes the color to another level. In the front of it, got the mesh front here. Very easy to clean. You just take the panel right off. You have instant access to the fans if you need to clean it. And then this panel just goes right back on. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That is still out there, yeah. The etching. So we do have to wait on that. So if you did want to pick up the PC without the glass, you can. You're welcome to pick up the PC. I should have it ready tomorrow. Hey. I don't have the specs currently set up on the stream right now, I'm sorry. But this is a Ryzen 3 4100 with 16 gigs of RAM and the B450M motherboard by Gigabyte, the DS3H Wi-Fi, as well as a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD with an RX 580 into a white Montech Air 100 with a 500 watt power supply and white sleeved cable extensions. Probably be this coming Saturday. Okay, well, I mean, we might have the glass before that. So, I just know the glass etching, the place that I take it to, they were really swamped. So, what is the cost of this? I think this build was in the 600, just north of 600. Is this rigged for Pokemon? Pokimane. Face grin smiling. No, this is for the chaotic oh my gosh, chaotic mutt. Your name keeps tripping me out every time I try to read it. This is for one of Chaotic Mutt's kids. This is a younger kiddo's first build. Great PC to start out with, though. I mean, on the AIM-4 platform, you could really upgrade on the B450, so it looks stunning. Thank you. Yeah, I think he's going to be super happy with it. I don't know why, but the Twitch chats aren't coming through right. I can see them, though. Don't worry. I'm just cycling through this hardware controller. There we go. So anyway, that was the build that I was going to do today. This build, again, was supposed to be done yesterday, live on stream, on yesterday's stream, but we had to cut that short unexpectedly, abruptly, because I stack too much on my plate every single day, and I'm guilty of that. And I had promised my sister I was going to do something with her, help her out yesterday at a certain time. Long story short, I couldn't get to this build, so we did this build today. Normally, or today, I wasn't planning on streaming, because normally what I do is cluster of builds, and then I have to do the installs for Windows, BIOS updates, all the drivers. So there's a ton of work outside of just building the PC that you have to do to give them an out-of-box experience, because if we just gave it to them like this, there's no operating system, so they just go to the BIOS and then be like, okay, now what? Well, we got to install the Windows. We got to. I like to do a BIOS update, make sure the XMP profile's set, make sure the fan curve is set, make sure the RGB software is installed, as well as all the drivers. So that way, when they pull it out of the box, it's literally just a plug and play experience where they plug it in, fire it up, download their game, and play. I think we got some games, or at least apps, that we're going to be putting on here as well. I have to double check that. Yeah, Battle.net, Steam, Epic, Discord. All of those are going to be installed as well. So, lots of work to do still on this one, and all of our all of our builds. So, when you see me do a cluster of builds like this, it's usually every other day that we're streaming, and it's because the day after we're catching up. So we should have all of these ready Monday. Just kidding, just kidding. It's a great PC. LOL, ouch, she can go. What? Hope the kid likes it. Yeah, I hope they really enjoy this as well. I mean, I didn't get a PC for Christmas when I was a kid. I had to build my own with scrap parts from my uncle. That's how I built my first PC. And it definitely did not look like anything like this. It was very scrappy. Alright guys, I appreciate everybody that joined the stream today. I am going to call it here and move on to the rest of my schedule today. And then we'll get the PCs prepped and all that for pickups and deliveries, shipping, all that. Thank you again to everybody who joined us. Cliff, I hope you enjoy this stream, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. Happy Sunday, guys. We'll see you next time. Next stream is probably also going to be Tuesday. Probably Tuesday. So, we'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good day and the rest of the weekend. Bye.